Hello, Herlighters. It's Erin Foley back in the booth talking women's sports. Another fun week in the world of the sports. The WNBA playoffs in full swing. They kicked off. Oh my God, I'm going to be living and dying for my New York Liberty, and they have to win. They have to win because everyone's like, "Oh, the team's going to break up next year, and this is the closest shot they ever have to winning. And if they don't win, they'll never win again." That's totally fine. I'm relaxed, but good luck to all your teams out there. And pray for the Liberty. Okay, huge congrats to the city of Portland, awarded the WNBA's 15th franchise. They start playing in 2026. It's huge for the city and just so exciting to see the WNBA expanding at like quite a clip. We had no new teams since 1912, and now we've got Toronto, Portland, and San Francisco. All this news breaking in the last couple of years. So I am absolutely thrilled. One more piece of good news before we kick off the show. I'm taking Her Lights on the road 5-city tour. We're kicking it off in Seattle in 2 weeks, and I'm lining up the guests. And this is the first podcast with the first official guest announcement. Hang on to your seats because soccer superstar Ali Krieger is my guest for the show in New York City. I mean, how fun is that? The show, Her Lights Live, is going to be part of the New York Comedy Festival on Saturday, November 9th, 7 p.m. at the Green Room 42. All the information is on herlights.com, so get your tickets. I cannot wait to see you there. Okay, let's get into it. Today's guest is my friend Cameron Esposito, a fantastic stand-up comic, author, actor. You've seen her everywhere. She's on the Stars show Take My Wife, ABC's A Million Little Things, and she hosts her long-running interview podcast, Queery. And today we're talking about swimming. I know. I mean, why not? I didn't know this, but Cameron's like a lifelong swimmer. And I just happened to have bought a bathing suit, a pair of goggles, and a swim cap, which I have not used yet. But after our conversation today, I'm going to get the confidence to jump in the pool and start swimming. We talk Olympics, of course, Ledecky's greatness, and there can't be a podcast about swimming without mentioning Diana Nyad. Of course, she is on my Mount Rushmore. It's such a fun, random, awesome conversation, tons of laughs. So let's jump right in. So here's an email I did not expect. I reach out, I'm like, okay, let's do the podcast. And I said, like, what sports are you digging or watching or whatever? Because I like to curate the podcast, or, I just said podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast around the guest.
Well, I'm from Chicago, so thank you. I
There,
feel safe.
there we go. And then you replied a phrase I never saw coming: competitive open ocean swimming. And I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
So hit it.
Well,
What?
I was a big swimmer for a lot of my life. Like I swam when I was a little kid. Well, first, I will actually take it all the way back. I um was one of those kids who like got basically like put in the pool when I was like teeny weeny. And then started swimming at the like learn to swim program that was a part of it was like taught at a high school. But I was like a little teeny kid and I always had ear infections. So I had like earplugs and I had to wear a swim cap when nobody else did. And then I also had like an eye patch and like goggle. I was like a disaster. So but here's what I'm trying to say is that my mom had to eventually come speak to the people that ran the program because it was like you move up through the stations and every swim class I would move up through the stations, but then because I was like so little and young, they would like start me back at blowing bubbles. And like my mom had to be like, listen, like she knows how to swim. So anyway, I I'm like a water baby. I always have
Yeah.
felt comfortable in water, and then started, competitively swimming when I was like in, you know, the early grades of middle school or grade school. And then I swam in high school as well. And I was the captain of my high school swim team, not because I was necessarily the best, but I just have a great personality, Erin, as you know. Um, but swimming year round in Chicago is kind of wild because it's freezing. And that high school swim practices would sometimes be before school. Some of them were also after school. So I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you'd go to swim, your hair would freeze when you like left
Oh my
the
God.
So anyway, I guess what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is I've been dedicated from the start.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought when you said I'm going to take it from the start, I thought we were going to talk about your parents, but like you met
Yeah.
when you were younger. Okay.
I'm like, I'm like, I've been dedicated from the start, but then none of that prepared me for moving to Los Angeles, which has outdoor pools that are open year round. And that is so cool when you're like a little kid from Midwest whose hair is freezing, and all this stuff from being a teeny person. So like when during the pandemic, I started lap swimming again, and I was living in Pasadena at the time. So I'd be like at the base of a mountain, and I would try to swim on. I mean, I'd swim year round, but I would also swim like, what's the wildest time I could possibly be in an outdoor pool? Is it New Year's Eve? Like just doing things like that because it felt so fun. Um, and I think the next escalation from that was that I was like living in Vancouver shooting a show for a couple years, and I would walk around and I saw people swimming in the ocean in wetsuits in the winter, and I was like, well, I got to do that. So I like started swimming in wetsuits up there, but not well. It's actually very hard to swim in a wetsuit if you're not used to it. And so then I was in Hawaii with my wife right after that and did my first race in the ocean in a Speedo, which was much better. Although I would not recommend doing that in Hawaii if you're not from Hawaii, because those people don't fuck around and those waves are like almost impossible to swim through.
Okay. Back up. I have questions before we
Okay.
get to you in a
Yeah.
race in Hawaii.
Mm.
So just, I just love sports stories where
Yeah.
it's such formative years, especially as girls, where you're
Yes.
talking about, like, for me, I had goggles because I had the worst, I had the worst eyesight. Um,
Absolutely.
and I just played, whatever. I played everything. So sports was like how I got my self-esteem, confidence, all of it. So when you're going through this period of time with your frozen hair and your eye patch and your like, was swimming like the outlet for you?
Well, I also played basketball, soccer, softball. Like played a lot of
Okay.
stuff. But I think the thing that feels specific to me about swimming is, you're on a team when you're younger, but you're also having an individual experience. And for all of those other, in terms of racing, so for all those other sports that I played, like I wasn't a competitive runner, although I have been in my adult life. So all those other things you're playing, you like sink or swim as a team.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about swimming is that you can do relays, you can train with your team, but then you also have an experience. You can also have an opportunity to be by yourself for racing. So I think that's really beautiful, and I also think it's extremely meditative. Like when you're underwater, you can't hear anything, and you're counting strokes. You're focused on your breathing, and it's given me like I like focus on my breathing sometimes when I'm doing stand up because I like have this relationship between like modulating my breathing and effort. So that's also been a cool part of having it for the rest of my life. Um,
I would also consider myself a water baby, but I did not start I didn't even like, I had that absolute fear of water, of like
oh wow.
swimming or, and we didn't swim growing up, whatever. But as soon as I started swimming in the ocean, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, and I always feel like I have to be around water, at any point in time. So much so that a couple months ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to start I taking a swim lesson at my gym. So I got my one piece and my goggles
Yes.
and stuff I've never like worn before. Then I busted my shoulder playing pickleball, but it's better now. But now I have, so you have to talk me through it, like just anxiety of showing up at the gym in my bathing suit, like
Oh,
taking a swim class. But I know I'm gonna love it.
I think that's also something that is really specific about swimming is, I had like a lot of body shame growing up, even
Yeah.
though I spent a lot of time in a Speedo. And, it had been a while since I had swum regularly. And I like went to the Y where I lived, and that's where I started swimming laps. And I realized like everybody was basically a retiree, like, and nobody gave a fuck, and it was fine. And
Yeah.
that was a very nice reminder.
I know I
I,
just have to jump in and do
yeah,
it because when I'm in the water, like you said, like there's just no better feeling than
it's
being in the
really,
water. Did
yeah,
you
it's,
use that like in high school, like as just like you're talking about meditative. Did they teach you like breathing and kind of all of I've never had any like official swim
You haven't had
lessons
any.
or
Well,
anything or
here's what I'll say. That's something that's also important to note because this is true for so many sports. But swimming is a sport that is, not everybody has access to because
yeah.
you have to be able to go to a pool. So even like a public pool, sometimes that can be cost restrictive, or like you have to have a school that has a pool. So I think a lot of people, like for a zillion different reasons, they live super far away or their family like can't swing it in the budget. I think a lot of people didn't get like actual swim training. I definitely did get actual swim training from when I was a little kid. So I definitely know how to do all of um, the different strokes, and I know how to do the freestyle breathing and stuff. Um, but like I'm 42. I'm not out there doing butterfly
Well, how did
during
you
my
pick?
lap
Well, in
swimming.
high school, how did you? That would be amazing though, just to like go into like a gym or just
Do you know
like you're
butterfly is
wide
the one
and
where
you're
you're
just like,
like
ooh, ooh.
it's the one where you're like flinging your
Oh yeah.
arms up and over.
I
Yeah.
it
Um
basically how I know swimming is the Olympics because I've just been
yeah.
I love watching it. Okay, hold on. How did you pick? You said breaststroke, right? How did you
Yes.
pick that, or was it picked for you? How do you
Um
arrive
well,
at
it
a
was the one I
stroke?
was the best at, which I think has something to do with having powerful legs um for that kick. But also my older sister was a breaststroker, and older sisters are very compelling.
Yeah.
She actually didn't swim in high school, but just when we both were on our team in like grade school, and she was a breaststroker. So
So you
we had
had
like
to.
nothing in common. We really liked each other a lot, but my sister was a ballerina and I was a jock, and she was like very, very girly, and I was like, you know, uh, dressed as Robin Hood half the time. So I think this was an area where I could,
Non-Halloween events.
yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah.
think no,
We
I
have to
wouldn't,
clarify
why,
that.
I wouldn't be Robin Hood for Halloween. This is an everyday look.
This is
For
Monday through
Halloween, that's
Thursday.
Charlie
Yeah.
Chaplin or something.
Yeah.
Um, no, it was just like something that I could do that she also did. And
Yeah.
I wanted more of those things.
Growing up, was there like a swimmer that I mean, we had like basically as females, like growing up, who could we see as like role models for athletes? We had tennis players and then we had the
Right.
Olympics. That's literally it. Was there someone that like, you watched and you're like, were inspired or motivated by?
No, I mean, I think it really was just like because I don't remember growing up watching Olympic swimming. I remember watching, like in the Summer Olympics, I remember watching track and field. But I think so much changed. I mean, we will talk about this, but I think something that has made Olympic swimming utterly compelling, obviously Michael Phelps, but after that, what they're able to do with cameras that a lot of other sports are actually not able to do. And just since I do know what they're doing, which again, I was never like a competitive whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Well, breakdancer. Even all those camera angles, if we
Yeah.
could get them, wouldn't be as compelling to me. But like, I think that for anybody, the camera angles we can get are pretty compelling. But then if you know what they're doing mechanically, it's like kind of wild. Because there aren't, I mean, I'm just going to start talking about this right now. But like,
Yeah.
for instance, when people are sprinting, there's the camera that's like keeping pace with them on the side. There are like overhead shots, and there might be a shot, the folks they're running at the camera, so it's
Yeah.
essentially like you can get like,
And then underwater, like the whole
but
thing is
underwater
unbelievable.
they can shoot them from below, from above,
Yeah.
and from both sides, so you can literally see the entire person, and you can see exactly what their body's doing the whole time, which I think is, I mean, I can't really think of an equivalent to that. It's like when people, I mean, the NFL has great cameras. Nobody's shooting up through the turf these
Yeah.
days, but
We don't need any
that.
crotch shots.
But you can do that,
Yeah.
or that's what they are doing in Olympic swimming.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that makes it so compelling. And then also to be able to do that, um, and because the lanes are because it's a rectangle, it's also so fun, I think, to watch from the like bird's eye view, and
Oh
chirpy
yeah.
blonde because it's so clear, like an oval track sometimes it's turning, but it's just a straight line and they're all in their lanes and you
It's
know
so
exactly what's happening. And
exciting.
it's just really,
Yeah.
really fun and all you can scream is for them to do just one thing. I think it's really exciting. Yeah.
No, it is one of my I think, there's just I do remember growing up being obsessed with like Janet Evans and Summer
Oh
Sanders
my God,
and
Summer Sanders was
yeah,
so cool.
yes, I think I believe she's a college coach now. She's
Oh,
fantastic. I follow her on Instagram.
oh, she was so
Not
cool.
stalker era,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just, slight, what's the Summer Sanders update? It's just like it's so crazy how like I was fans of them, when I was younger, and then you have access now on social media, you're like, oh, Summer Sand, like it's just
Yeah, that's
oh,
amazing.
Natalie Coughlin. I thought that was one of the coolest moments in
Oh
our
my
last Olympics is
God.
Natalie Coughlin came out and presented medals. And I was like, oh my God. It's funny because you're so obsessed with these athletes and then they go away. I don't follow a lot of like national swim meets, but I did some NCAA meets like pre-Olympics, but yeah, I have to say, I don't really know, the breaststroke and the butterfly. They're a little bit confusing, the freestyle, but I just scream. I just scream
It's
and
very
cheer. I don't
screamable.
even really know what I'm looking at, but I love it.
Actually, this is something that I found so fun at this last Olympics, and I just don't know if I had like missed this, but I don't remember them. They kept referring to it as a meet, which it technically is a swim meet. But I don't know if I just missed that in the past, but they kept being like, he's really like the standout of the meet. I'm like,
Oh my God, are we in high school?
this is the Olympics. But also, it's I think it's helpful for me sometimes. I remember when like I found out whenever this was where like J Lo and like A Rod were dating, and you were like, these people know each other, like they're what? And I think sometimes that's something that is interesting in any high level specialty, right? Like
Yeah.
you think, oh, these people are meeting for the first time at the Emmys. Most of them are not. Like oh, these stand up comics, people will be like,
Yeah.
do you know such and thus? Actually, I think we go to the same dentist. He always asks me if I know you. Yes.
Dr. Hom?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love Dr. Hom. He's the best. I think
Yeah.
Maria Bamford also goes there.
True. And why would you know that? Because he's always like, do you know Maria? Do you know Erin? I'm like,
I've been
yes.
with him for so long. He's the absolute best. Look at
He's really,
this.
really great.
This is the whole
Yeah,
magic of podcasting. We go to the same
absolutely.
dentist. I love
But
it.
yeah, like, yes, I know the other people who do stand up comedy. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's just easy to forget that all of these people, many of them go
Yeah.
to school in the US
Yeah.
and compete with each other all year round. And then this is like a swim meet for them. It's a very high level swim meet, but it still is a swim meet
Yeah.
because it feels so magical and like it's
And the
something that only happens
relays
every
too.
4 years. You're like, they just saw each other like 2 days ago
I
or
know, like they were
whatever.
literally just competing against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for us, not, it comes, maybe I'll watch, some big event maybe once every 2 years or something. But the Olympics, that's when you're like, okay, I remember that. I remember Titmus. I remember, obviously Ledecky is, um, just the most decorated, obviously, I think female athlete literally of all time. But let's just talk about Ledecky for a second. I mean,
Yes.
I could not believe, like, I know she's like the greatest, but in that, what was it? Like, I think it's 15,000 meters. Like, did
1,500. But yeah,
1,500?
I
What
mean,
did
might as
I say?
well.
1,500.
15,000. I mean that, but like
She swam
she
for
could win that
17
too, I'm
hours in the
sure.
pool.
Yeah, I'm sure she could also win the
I need a
15,000.
coffee. 1,500.
But
When you're doing the
Erin,
lap stuff, yeah,
this stuff is incredibly interesting,
yeah,
right? So, yes, the interesting things about her, because I was confirming that this is true. She's like she's like the fifth most decorated athlete of all time, any country. So
yeah. And I think she's
she's
our
our
number one,
second.
right? Oh, what was
She's
it,
our number
Phelps?
one in women, but she's
Okay,
also our second
ever.
across the
Yeah,
board. But she's
it's
also the fifth of any country, men and women. So like that's kind of wild just for scale. And Michael Phelps still has double the medals that she does. However,
really
he does. Yeah, he does.
wow.
That's how close it is between like one and two. Um, Twice as many medals. He's He was so dominant for so long. But I think some stuff that strikes me as really interesting, and I don't know if you were like seeing this, people were passing this around during the Olympics at all, but like she also, so she hasn't been beaten in the 1500. I looked it up to confirm this, but I knew it was a really long time. She hasn't, the last time she lost that race was
15,000?
14 years ago.
Wow. Holy
and
shit.
and that race, she was in junior high, and the other
No.
person who won was a senior in high school. That's the last time she lost that race ever. Like, I don't
Oh
mean
my
like in the
God.
Olympics, I mean
Yeah.
period. She's been swimming the 1500 since then. She's never lost since then. And she hadn't lost the 800 in 13 years, but she lost, like, I think last summer. Also, the top 20 times for the 1500
They're all hers.
are all hers. So
I
that
saw that and I
is
was like, what?
bananas. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have some other swimmers I'd like to talk about that aren't Katie
Let's
Ledecky.
do it.
May I offer?
God, yeah.
Yeah. So we had this swimmer this year, Tori Huske, who, like, well, first of all, I will just say this:
She was amazing.
uh, men, like, we have a history of like dominance as dudes in the pool. That was not happening this
That
year.
did not happen.
Our dudes
year.
were not.
Know,
that was not
know,
happening.
I know it was disappointing.
And it was even more hilarious because the women did much better. Like, I just mean, it's not like we like ate shit across the board. It's kind of similar to track and field when the dudes like dropped the baton and the women were like,
oh my God,
we are the
for
best
like
in the
so
like,
many Olympics in a row. You're like,
what the shit? But anyway, yeah, there was if anybody's, so I just was obsessed with this Tori Huske, because she was, first of all, she's very like unassuming, I think, as a person. She has a little bit of a smaller build compared to some swimmers, obviously like a little bit of a swimmer shoulder, but like she's smaller than some of the other folks. And she was not favored to win the 100 fly, and then she out touched her teammate and won gold. And her teammate Gretchen Walsh is also somebody she swam multiple relays with. So like, I know they had to hang with each other for the rest of time. And I feel
how
like,
awkward is this?
I just feel
so
like
great.
that moment where like, because also when she touched, and folks should like watch this clip, she really is like surprised that she won.
Yeah,
and then it cuts
Walsh
to
was
this
favored.
Walsh, she had like set the world record in the semifinals, and so then they like win, and then Walsh is like trying to keep her face normal, but like it's like an Oscars or whatever. She's like trying to keep her face normal, but she's like horrified. And then Tori Huske is like, wah! But they're teammates, and they have to swim together on multiple relays, like right, like very soon after that. But then Gretchen also, I think, must have been in a similar situation because her sister, Alex Walsh, her older sister, so Gretchen was like actually in a ton of events, and she was in relays that like won gold medals, but she has an older sister, Alex, who is also on the team this year. And Alex won the bronze medal in the 200 IM individual medley, and then she got disqualified and her bronze medal was taken back. So
I didn't realize that was her sister.
That's her sister. They're sisters.
Oh,
and that's her,
I thought that was
the
Gretchen
little
Walsh.
sister. Gretchen Walsh. No, there's three people here. One is Tori Huske.
Well, I know Tori Huske and I know Gretchen Walsh, but I didn't know Gretchen Walsh
is
had
better.
a sister.
There's an Alex. Alex was also an Olympian on the team.
Oh my God, I didn't
Alex
realize
is the
that.
older sister.
I saw that disqualification. That was heartbreaking because of a turn, right? She didn't turn properly.
She didn't turn properly, yeah. So I just was also thinking, it's like, again, just to go back to the like, you're on a team, but you're also individuals. I mean, all of these people having to then like go hang out with each other, where like Tori like comes from behind to out touch the person who just set the world record, but actually that person's older sister just got disqualified while she's holding multiple gold medals that she's going to take home to their parents. It's all so fucked up and dramatic.
It is so dramatic because it's such a unique sport. Like as you were saying in the very beginning of like, you have this individual challenge to yourself and responsibility and drive and then you're competing. It's so like almost really unhealthy in a way,
It
but
is.
also really
It's too much.
sweet. But you have to be like an enemy with Tori and Gretchen, have to be like enemies for that race.
Yes.
And then, you know, it's like the competition to even get on like our national team in soccer. It's like you have to be like cutthroat, and then
Right.
you have to be best
Buddies.
friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait,
What do
let me
you
ask you that
think?
disqualification question real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah,
First of
yeah.
all, did that ever happen to you? And I had never seen that in the Olympics before, but of course, I'm sure it happened. That was the first time where I was like, wait,
Um,
what?
I don't know if I ever got disqualified, but it is something that happens.
Yeah.
For
She didn't
I
touch
think
the,
one time might have gotten disqualified, but because I dove in and my goggles flew off and I have contacts and they flew out of my eyes and I
it's like my
just
worst
stopped
nightmare.
swimming
Yeah.
and I went back to the
That's it.
wall.
So the worst nightmare when you have
So
contacts.
I think I was disqualified from that, but it wasn't like I had finished the race and was surprised. But there's a starting gun just like in track and field, so like that's an opportunity to get disqualified. And then like on breaststroke, you have to do like a two-hand touch and then flip out, and that's different than the way that you turn for freestyle.
So they're
I
all
would
different
imagine
turns depending on the stroke.
butterfly and breaststroke have the same turn, and then freestyle and backstroke have the same turn. But for backstroke, you start on your back, so you pull yourself onto your front and then do a freestyle turn.
Wait, so what is freestyle again? Just regular,
Like the
what I would call
classic
regular,
crawl. Yeah.
the regular quote unquote regular swimming,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's freestyle.
like
Regular
Erin
swimming is
Foley in a
freestyle.
gym swimming.
Backstroke
Okay.
is regular swimming, but it's on your back.
Yep.
Fly
Yep. I
is the
get
nuts
backstroke.
one. And then breaststroke is the frog.
I just realized that now I can call myself a freestyle swimmer
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
actually it's just regular swimming, but it sounds so much more impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Freestyle specialist.
I'm a freestyle equinox gym specialist. It's like you're just swimming, Erin. You're just like going to the gym and swimming. And I'm like, no, I'm a freestyle specialist. I'm very excited for that new title.
I mean,
I forgot about that team drama. Yeah. I
it's
was just trying to think of like that happens in sprinting, of course, that happens in track and field when it's like but there's something about these individual races. And then I'm just wondering too if like when you guys had relays, like was it a relief? Like was it like is that the fun part? I mean, obviously you don't want to let your team down. By the way, Tori crushed it in the relays. I think she was
yes.
our final
Yes, and she had
swimmer.
the fastest split.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was excellent in the relays. She was like the star of the
Yeah.
meet, as it were. I think in terms of like how
Yeah.
she came in and then her exceeding expectations.
And then we have to talk about Diana Nyad because I'm obsessed with the mental component of long distance swimming. Like I can barely get my head around Ledecky's 150,000 meters. I'm just going to keep increasing it.
Absolutely.
What she thinks about, although she did say um, in that last one, normally she doesn't, but she was thinking about, it was such a sweet moment, everybody that helped it, that like got her there, and the dudes that she swam with like in Florida this last training program that like kept pushing her. Of course I was crying because I'm always crying when it comes to sports.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so all right, so I want to just you tell
Wait,
us
I want to
about
just
like
say
the
one
ocean
thing
stuff.
on that,
Yeah.
just real quick, which
Yeah.
is talk something that I cannot understand or wrap my mind around is how she can possibly stay fast in the water when she is swimming lengths ahead of everybody else. Like that is talk about like a mental
Yeah.
exercise to just only stay on pace with yourself because they're
There's no
we all are
yeah.
pushed by others
Yeah.
um in our competitive endeavors, but yeah, she's like the person that the next fastest swimmer won't even be on the screen when she's finishing, and I don't understand how she stays on track with herself at all.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't understand that.
it must be some sort of timing that she clocks in her head because they're
Yeah.
saying like it's unbelievable what a science it is that, like, for the first, let's say, 500 meters, it has to be this time. And then she'll increase, like,
Yeah,
whatever the announcer said as far as the math on it, she
right.
hit it every single time. And it was
And I mean,
mind blowing.
I guess it's like you and I both know what like 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 20 minutes feels like on
Yeah,
stage.
that's true.
So maybe
I
it's
guess if
like
you
that.
do it enough, you just
You
know the
know the
pace.
timing.
But
And
that's a really good point because there's no one in the next lane that you're like, I've got to keep up
yeah.
with. God, that's
Also, they swim with their arm on distances that are really that long. They like save the energy in their legs. They don't kick. Did you see any of that? That's like super interesting
Wait, explain
footage
that.
also. Because they're like conserve they'll do like a kick that is like so slow, almost feels like a it's like a Pretty Little Mermaid kick, or yeah, almost no kick at all for the first like bunch of laps because they're conserving energy and they'll just pull with their arms. So
Oh
like
my
if you
God.
look underwater, it's like they're not even swimming with their legs for most of the race.
That's why I saw so many seashells under the water because they were doing some sweet mermaid kicks. There
Like
was
it
some
just makes it look
sand.
very, I think it makes it look very chill, like as if
Yeah,
they're like
yeah.
having a relaxing time, because
It's the Olympics.
the kicks are what really make things look aggressive, you know?
Dramatic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were
Oh
swimming
God, now
so
I'm going back.
fast. Don't let the lack of kick. um
That's mind
anyway,
blowing.
yeah, you were asking me about Vancouver.
You in
And
the ocean, and then I want to talk about mindset too when you're doing long distance stuff because that's just fascinating to me. How people keep themselves going.
I mean, I think that my experience swimming in the ocean, again, as somebody who grew up swimming in pools,
Yeah.
is try not to die. And I'm serious because the ocean, it is so hard to swim in the ocean there between like the current and the waves, and like the undertow. I mean, I don't know how people who, I mean, this is like for people who are triathletes, for people who are like competing at that level, at a really high competitive level as opposed to like recreationally competitive. I that is a whole other thing to that is like, yeah, that again really is like, I don't know how people are doing this. I guess if you grow up with it, that's why I said the thing about Hawaii, like
Yeah.
so many folks there are connected to water in a very specific way. So they might grow up swimming in the ocean as opposed to in a pool. But yeah, I'm used to Midwestern still water, and so the like,
Lake. You're like
and
a lake baby.
yeah, lakes are great,
Yeah.
but one thing that's helpful about these races is that they have people out. They have lifeguards on jet skis. That makes me feel good because I want to get popped out of there if I need to. Because
Yes.
I just am trying not to die. Like I'm
Yeah,
just trying to.
it's fun.
I'm trying to.
It's
I'm
yeah.
gonna run
Yeah.
in off the beach with a number like written on my body in Sharpie,
So awesome.
and like it's so fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like swim with giant groups of people who are also swimming, and we're all just trying to like make it back to the shore.
Any
It's
animal
cool.
sightings?
Not during races. There's like a lot of people in the water usually, and then there are some
Yeah.
boats and some jet skis. But uh I mean, one thing that is fun is that they have like floating, big inflatable floating, what would they be called? I mean, they're buoys, but they're like they
Where
map
you
the
turn?
course. Yeah.
Okay.
So the course is
That's
mapped with like enormous inflatable cones that are out in the ocean, which is also kind of fun. So
um
it's less animals, more plastic.
okay. Well, that's good. That's what belongs in the ocean. Just like a ton of extra
Exactly.
plastic that you just pop at the end and you just keep it floating in. You just try
Exactly.
to sink it. That feels good for the environment. Well, when I was watching that Nyad movie, what blew me away was
I actually, just so you know, I haven't seen it, but
oh, okay, that's okay.
you can
It's
tell me
just what
about it.
she thinks about. It's just the
Yeah.
mindset because of course she swam from Florida to the South Pole and back. I mean, the amount of the distance was insane. She said she starts singing a song and she sings it 1,000 times in a row. And that's about 9.5 hours of swimming. And I was like, what in God's name are you? What? Isn't that? I literally was like, that can't. And she just was casually saying this to Oprah. And they referred to it in the movie, but I had already seen that Oprah interview and I was like, come again? Oprah's face. Everybody that's listening, you have to watch this clip because Oprah's face, Oprah's seen and heard everything. I think it stumped her. Oprah was like, what? Isn't
That's
it
so funny.
unbelievable? Yeah.
Uh,
And I was like, wow, okay. Do you have a
uh,
thing like when you're swimming, or are you just kind of in the moment, or like, do you do a song 520
no,
times?
I like think about things. Like I like
Yeah.
run through. Actually, I guess the thoughts are kind of it's like I'm doing this with my hand because it feels like it's like passing through
Yeah.
sort of like the water. I'm like thinking about stuff. Because the other thing that you can really do is like count your strokes to your breathing. And that is also, I mean, it's exactly like box breathing. Have you ever done box breathing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that, except you're just counting your arm movements. So if you want to think about something, you can zen out and do that. If you don't want
Yeah.
to think about something, you can like actually just connect to, well, that's just another thing I like about it, just in terms of as an athletic endeavor. If you don't continue to swim, you're like gonna die. So
Yeah.
it
There
feels
are
like
there
that's
are stakes.
it's like the motivation's built in.
What do you think about just actually, yeah, just like not dying. And
Survival,
then
basic
sometimes I
survival.
count
Yeah,
my breaths. And then
yeah.
sometimes I think I sing Bridge Over Troubled Water 750 times. And that's about 7.5 hours of swimming. Yeah, that was just mind blowing to me of
That's so
how
funny what you just. I have to
it's
watch
just
this clip
it's
from.
just it's unbelievable. I mean, I still think it's just unbelievable. Like when you can go into the ocean. I'm not saying like your races seem a little bit more planned and safe and
Oh
okay.
yeah, I'm not trying to.
No,
That's.
no, I'm not. No, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, like that feels like a little bit more doable. But the Nyad thing is still, to me, I always put her up as like Mount Rushmore, one of the most heralded things you can do. And I don't like to compare sports and whatever, but I don't think it gets any harder than what she did when she's also doing like she has to wear masks for jellyfish. I mean it is really the most incredible story. And she so casually describes it. Oh yeah, I just sing that song 1,000 times and I know it's about 9.5 hours. I was like,
you know,
wow.
I think like the only way I can make sense of it is I'm a very goal oriented person, but I think that my goals are in a lot of different categories. Like, I want to have really close friends and I want to have a successful relationship and I want to do like these 12 things in my career and like these other things in my hobby life. And I think that when we encounter people who have like that kind of such specific focus, it's always amazing because even as a goal driven person, it's like I get bored with stuff. Like I need diversity in my
Yeah.
life. And some people, well, first of all, some people are not goal oriented. They're just like having a different experience of life.
Yeah.
They're
I
like
think they're probably having a lot more fun.
they might be relaxed ever, which would be nice. Um, and then, some people are like so singularly focused
Yeah.
that it's just like
It's
a different kind of person. You like can't even be like, how could I do that? You just have to
no.
section that off and go, this is different. This is
Yeah.
different
I
than
often
I
think
am.
like one day I will interview her, but it's almost like um what do you say to another human being that can't comprehend what you're saying? Like she so casually said to Oprah, I sing a song 1,000 times and I know it's 9.5 hours. It's literally one of my favorite moments of all time. And I'm just sitting here like I can't even understand how one could start a swim from Florida to Cuba. Like, you know, all the hours and like it's so much like I don't even know. It really feels like a different world. You know what I
I
mean?
wonder if
It
she
really does.
has people she's brought into her life who. It's just so funny that you say that, and that like literally 2 weeks ago, I went to a bookstore opening that with my wife, and it was through one of her friends, but I also know this person, but well, it's her former boss actually. Um, and this bookstore opening was like there was a before the bookstore actually opened. There was like a cocktail reception that was only for people she was close with, and this woman used to run a really big talent agency, and so the people that were at this cocktail party, it was in Montecito, California, and so like one of the people that was at this cocktail party was Oprah. This is what I said to her: "Great job at the DNC." Nothing else. She said, "Thank you." Sometimes Erin, whatever. But
What do you
it
say to
was,
Oprah?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like there were people there that felt like each of them was like that pillar in their thing.
Yeah.
I just felt like I ended up this cocktail party where like I'm pretty good at stand up, but everybody else was like the pillar of their thing. And I left being like, oh my God, no wonder all these people moved to Montecito. Because it's like a place where they don't all do the same thing.
Yeah.
But like the guy who created Beanie Babies lives there. You know what I mean? And he's like, listen, man, I don't know what to tell you. I am the most successful at creating small, well-named stuffed animals. Like I don't know what to tell you. And
Yeah.
it's like that level of peerlessness. I left feeling so happy. Oh, everybody here is peerless. And so
Yeah.
that is what unites them. Like,
It's a group
because
of peerless wonders. Yeah.
otherwise they couldn't talk about anything with anybody. So
Yeah.
thank God that like the Beanie Babies guy and Oprah live in the same town. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you and I can't talk to Oprah or the Beanie
Yeah.
Babies guy.
Yeah.
They have to talk to each other.
That's
Yeah.
how I would feel like, honestly, if I'm talking to Diana Nyad.
That's
what
what I'm
was it
saying.
like when you were in the water?
I hope she has some people in her life that feel like this to her.
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
I don't know who that would be, but I hope she has them.
Watch the movie. Everybody watch the movie. It's pretty incredible. Any closing thoughts about women in sports, swimming?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. I got a closing thought about women in sports.
The state of the world.
There are a few sports that I think are best appreciated / the most horrifying for queer women. And I would say that swimming is one of them because it is one of those sports that even from when you're little and nervous about your body, the locker room has to be heavily nude. It's like an all nude locker room because you cannot get out of, you can change your sports bra under your shirt or whatever when you're in sixth grade. You cannot get out of a wet Speedo because, Speedos you're supposed to buy them 2 sizes too small. You cannot get out of a wet Speedo without peeling it off your body. And so if you are already a sweaty mess and a child with your nascent sexuality, I will just say, I will openly take suggestions from listeners of what might be a more horrifying sport to have done at a young age. Just on the now, I do hot yoga. That's a very nude locker room. Yeah. But I'm in my 40s and this feels okay.
We have confidence now.
This is okay.
Yes. Trying to quickly get off I remember being in the locker room trying to undress as quick as humanly possible, but a wet Speedo.
And then people are showering. Some of the more confident seniors are showering, talking to you. What are you doing? Contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great breaststroke.
I can't. Yeah.
Breaststroke.
This is too much. So.
Well, this is what you draw from. You're on stage. You've got all these people staring at you. You're slinging jokes. If you can survive the locker room when you're 12 years old, ripping off a wet Speedo, then thousands of people slinging jokes.
It's
Not
all
a
fine.
problem. There you
Yeah,
go. It's full circle. This is where you get all your stand-up mojo is from the locker
absolutely.
room peeling off a wet Speedo. Cameron Esposito, everyone. She'll be doing shows this week at the Elysian Theater in Los Angeles. And then next month, she'll be performing in Denver and Nashville. All the information is on her website, CameronEsposito.com. So go there and check it out. She's fantastic. Make sure you go see her live. Okay, Herlighters, it's time for the feel-good moment of the week, and it's everyone's queen, Billie Jean King, who will become the first individual female athlete to be awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, the nation's highest civilian honor. The bill just passed last week, but it was introduced last September on the 50th anniversary of King's victory over Bobby King in the Battle of the Sexes, still the most watched tennis match of all time. I mean, that's mind blowing. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand championed the legislation, saying from her leadership on equal rights in Title IX to her advocacy on behalf of the LGBTQ community, Billie Jean's life and career is an example of using one's platform and talents for positive, lasting change. I mean, in the world of women's sports, nobody has made more of an impact. And if someone disagrees, summon your inner Cher, slap them in the face, and say, snap out of it. Congratulations, Billie Jean King. Thank you, and we love you. And that's our show, Herlighters. Please take a second, rate the show 5 stars, leave a fun review. It always makes my day. And it's, important for the algorithms and ad sales and all that garbage that pays the bills. Fans, friends, family, have the best week of your life.